So today's episode is going to be a little different. We're going to try to go down the positive route, the imagination route, the speculation route, the fun route. Get away from the rah, 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 and get into some, hopefully, some more interesting and entertaining stuff. So let's talk about pay to win. Just kidding. So, recently we did talk about, kind of getting the game done, showing a really solid version of the game, as a way to kind of show people, hey, this is something that's going to happen, it's something that's going to work, worth getting into, worth playing, worth buying into, that sort of thing. But, when we talk about game systems coming online, like whether it's scanning, whether it's mining, whether it's salvaging, all that sort of stuff, but those things alone, I think they're content in a way, but I kind of want to go aside from those and talk about what kind of content would you like to see brought into the game that you think would liven things up, that would be a real positive draw for players into the game. Because of course there's mining, there's trading, there's going to be salvaging, hopefully soon, 3.5. But that in and of itself, really, I don't think is the end game that most people want. I think there's a lot of people who would like to do that as a hobby, but to a certain degree, I think that they want some more exciting things along the way, some more interesting things. One of the things that I would like to see, because of course, yeah, I mean, there are people who are going to be like, no, I just want to mine, I just want to salvage, but there needs to be things that happen in the universe that keeps it interesting, that makes it a living universe. It's not just static mining simulator, static salvage simulator, right? And one of the things that I would like to see is periodic events that pop up, not just like, oh, hey, I've got a mission for you. Pick up 2 crates of garbage and dump it off world, and I'll give you 380 credits. That sort of crap. But just interesting dynamic events with high rewards that might encourage players to go out and chase things down. Let's say a very stealthy marauder all of a sudden turns up in your system and it's hunting down various NPCs, and an alert goes out and there's a mission that says hunt down this person, huge amount of rep, huge amount of credits, whoever can get them. And maybe it's something where players got to work cooperatively, or even better, what if players have to work competitively, using scanners and using the systems within the game to kind of try and narrow down where this marauder is, and then kind of work their way into that location. Whoever gets there first gets them shot down first, collects the bounty and collects a high reward. Or maybe you got to work together as a team because that's more efficient, and you gather people together and you start scanning and looking and trying to track this thing down. But the reward is something so amazing that the drive is there to get it. Maybe there's other things beyond just a monetary reward. Maybe there's a title included in it, or a special rank with the local police forces. I don't know, but something that when it pops up, it makes players just kind of set down what they're doing and go, hey, this is really fun. We have to go get on top of this. I think those types of events can certainly, spawn a lot of excitement within the player community. And I think even if it's done in a competitive sense, it can, if you're looking to kind of create a PvP type situation, especially, let's say, in the more unregulated parts of the universe, you could use an event like that to force players into a situation where they're colliding for an objective. And that can be very fun and exciting as well. Another idea that I had, and I think it's an idea that I think it would work well with the state of the game and the big push to kind of get things delivered and to get things, in players' hands. But at the same time, the way these systems are being developed is, it seems to be coming just a little bit at a time. But one of the probably the big interests in the community, if I'm not mistaken, is the idea of getting into Vanduul space, of raiding into Vanduul space. So what if there was a wormhole connection between the Stanton system and one of the systems in Vanduul space? And the way that we found out about that is that all of a sudden a Vanduul invasion turns up in Stanton. You could make this like a holiday event, and you could make it so it's a little bit more fun for players to engage in, but at the same time kind of staying within the rules of the game. Let's say the UEE says, you know what, we don't really have the naval forces to spend to really push this invasion back, so we're kind of counting on you, the freelancing pilots out there to kind of help us push this back. So for this period, whenever you want to have this invasion happen, the UEE is going to cover all your insurance costs, plus expedite all your ship retrieval. If you lose your ship, we're going to expedite that. We're going to pay for the equipment on your ship if you lose it, minus the cargo, so you can't lie and say, oh, I had a priceless Van Gogh in the cargo hold, so that's another 50 million UEC. But we're going to cover all the reasonable expenses so that you have a reason to go out and get there. And maybe there's also special rewards that come along with that, and the opportunity to kind of go through that wormhole and maybe start raiding into Vanduul space. And as they develop that system, you might say that, well, this planet, the defenses are weak, so players can go and raid and discover and explore around there. But as players do that, they're weakening the defenses, they're whittling away at them within the system, and then all of a sudden now we can go and we can hit this other planet in the system and its moons, and then this asteroid belt, and then this planet, that sort of thing. So you can stagger how that system comes online while using plot elements to kind of justify why you're only getting it in little bits and bytes, and all of a sudden it opens up a whole new avenue for the players. Now, of course, there's going to be a certain amount of probably internal pushback on that one, because the Vanduul is one of these secret magic topics that's going to make Squadron 42 so ooh and ah. And so pre-revealing what a Vanduul ship looks like to players might spoil the plot of Squadron 42. I know that that's probably somehow a concern, but you know how it is sometimes. But I think that doing something like that, if you could deliver it once again within the frame of a stable game client, and you could do that in such an enjoyable way, that I think that would alleviate a lot of the back end, a lot of the back end problems and a lot of the concerns in the community. If you could, if they could actually get into the game and start exploring things like that and having fun, I think that would be a really interesting way to kind of push things forward. It might mean changing the star map a little bit, but I think the star map is probably something that at this stage in development is something that remains fairly fluid and something that could be changeable. We always talked about discovering wormholes and maybe finding new star systems. Maybe this is the first wormhole that we discover. And this doesn't have to be an event that could be resolved, in one day or in one play session. Maybe if you have something where your players are pushing towards a goal, like we got to get X amount of the Vanduul fighters shot down, we got to destroy X amount of the capitals, and then they'll weaken to the point where now we can go and raid into their space and that sort of thing. So it'd be one of those situations where players are looking forward to it. It's sort of like raid night, and it's like, oh, I can't wait to get home and just get into Star Citizen and just start hitting the Vanduul. It's going to be awesome. And there obviously would be rewards, both financial and possibly prestige style rewards, that would drive a lot of interest and a lot of participation in that sort of thing. Now, you might say that in the current state of the game, obviously, and for the foreseeable future, over the next year, there's not going to be any sense of permanence, so any money you earn really doesn't count. But if you look beyond the money rewards, if you look at maybe there are certain physical goods that you can give the players, certain things that you can award the players that give them at least some sense of progression of moving forward. Like, let's say if you complete all these tasks, then the UEE is going to award you a crate of P4R assault rifles that you can say, hey, I've got a Caterpillar, or hey, I've got a Javelin or an Idris or whatever, and now I can take that crate and use that to fill up the gun racks of my ship once my ship is ready, so I can start to build up that equipment or sets of armor, or maybe just cosmetics and badges and things like that, things that players can then turn around and use in game and know that they're going to have once things are meaningful. I think if you can give players that sense of progression and purpose, even when we're in a state where persistence in terms of player progression doesn't exist, if you can give them different avenues and different routes of seemingly progression within that system, you're going to find that players are not going to be satisfied, but they're going to at least feel that, okay, there's a purpose to log in, there's an enjoyment to be derived from this, there's something that I can feel like I'm doing. Because I think that probably one of the things that kind of makes players uncomfortable or makes players unhappy right now is the sense that we're just kind of sitting here twiddling our thumbs and not doing anything, and we feel that we just want the game to be going somewhere in order to actually call it a game. We feel like we need to be progressing in a direction. I think that if you can take that alternate look at progression, maybe you can deliver something that is going to drive player interest and drive player satisfaction, which I think would definitely be something that I think a lot of us would really like, is a sense of purpose when we log into the game, rather than just collecting footage or trying to learn which one is the actual module that you can go to buy goods in. Anyways, just some of my random thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in the Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.